it's it's exciting. It's exciting to be able to share my knowledge with young minds that are just blooming and just they're just like a whole lot of little sponges, and they just all that. It's I find it easier to work with smaller children because they learn preschool even. They can't read, they don't write, but they can pick it up and they know their colors, their numbers. I wrote a song in Cocopah for the Head Start children. It's a graduation song. And it says, I'm happy, that I finished Head Start. I'm happy, and away I go, which means that now they're going out into the world. That's what the whole song is about. And it's to the tune of the wheels on the bus go round and round. And they all sing it. They sang it at graduation. It's so much harder to work with adults. For whatever reason it is, it seems like they're embarrassed to repeat the words or say the words. And I find it hard to work with adults, but with children, small children, oh, they're just absolutely wonderful. They learn so much, and they share it with their parents. We had one parent that came and played the game with us. And for her, even though she's Cocopah, she's not familiar with the colors, the numbers. She knows some of it, but not all of it. But for her, it was interesting just to interact with the children at the table, playing the game in Cocopah. And she said to me that she was going to play with her daughters when she gets home. And so I gave her a marked deck, which I use for the older children who can read. And I didn't know that, but today the older children, for some reason, I sit at a table and it's always these older ones that come and sit at my table. And the same group sat with me today, and they were glad that the cards weren't marked. Had I known that, I would have not marked them. But in the beginning, they were all using their cheat sheets. And so I thought, well, if I mark the cards, perhaps it'd be easier for them to read it off of the card rather than the paper. But apparently they can play the game without the marked cards, which happened today. Which is I'm just so glad that they pick it up so fast. In the afternoon, we help Mr. Marlo Barley with Peon, and they are all eager to play, to learn the game, to sing the songs, and really get involved. And that's what, as an elder, I see that I push that in my own family. Keep the culture alive. Know who you are. Know where you come from. Know who you are related to, because we're losing all of that, especially language. And for me, I used to do it as a volunteer work. Now, I get a stipend, which is okay. I'm happy. Just as long as I share my knowledge with young minds who are so eager. And that's what makes me happy as an elder instructor. To be able to share my knowledge and help them to grow and to remember what they learned here. And if they come back next year, God willing, I will be here again to help with the program. And that's what my wish is, that everybody learns the culture, the language, and be Cocopahs. That's what I would like to see. Young people and adults as well. Some adults, one council member, Mr. Begay, he was in my class and he uses a lot of what he learned. And he uses it in public, and I just praise him for that. Because it takes, I've had others in my class, but when they see me, they greet me in English, and they know the greetings in Cocopah, but they for whatever reason, they don't speak to me in Cocopah. They'll use the English language. And I can understand that. We have a linguistic here on the reservation who interpreted the Bible. When I get together with him, he speaks to me in Cocopah, but for whatever reason, I cannot speak to him in Cocopah. I speak to him in English, and he speaks to me in Cocopah. And it sounds kind of weird, but I can't bring myself to sit and speak to him in Cocopah. I rarely do it with the ladies that I work with here because mainly we speak English among us. But now more and more I speak in Cocopah, and they laugh, they respond. And so I know that they do know Cocopah. And always when somebody asks me, do they speak Cocopah? And I'm like, I don't know. I hear a word here and there, but never a sentence. But now, I guess the only way I'm going to find out is speak to them and have them respond to me in Cocopah. That tells me that they do speak the Cocopah language. But it's a dying art, and we all want it to be, we wanted to have it back here again, have it just all Cocopah. I grew up in my family not speaking English. And my dad put me in the first grade with no English. And you know, my first grade is a blank. It must have been very traumatic for me. And I can't remember anything from the first year. I can remember where I lived, where I played, but school is like a blank. And so I don't know how I survived. But thank God I did. And my family, they didn't speak, my mother didn't speak English. She spoke just Cocopah. We all spoke Cocopah in my family. My dad, he speaks Cocopah, he speaks some Cochan, he speaks Spanish. Apparently he migrated down here from Mexico. So he spoke Spanish, and he would say things in Spanish, and he had me name my dogs in Spanish, and I didn't know that that's what it was. And people would ask me, what is your dog's name? And I tell them, they go, that's Spanish. And I go, I guess. And then they tell me what it means, and I'm like, okay, that makes sense. I had a dog named Four Eyes in Spanish because he had dots over his eyes, which made him look like he had four eyes. But it's so interesting. My grandkids, I tell them that, learn the language, learn other language. My grandson that I raised, he was kind of torn between taking Spanish and another language, and he chose German? I think it was German. And he says, well, I can always, I have so many friends that are Mexican Americans, and they speak Spanish, and I think I can pick it up if I wanted to. But I want to learn a language that's different from mine, that maybe I can use somewhere else one day. And who knows? And I tell him, well, that's absolutely true. Because you don't know what the future holds. For all I know, you could end up in Germany and know the language. And they wonder why this Indian man speaks German. But it's really interesting. But that's what my goal is, to have everybody speak Cocopah, or at least have some knowledge. Even my non-Indian coworkers, I tell them, you've been here for years and years and years. You should be able to know something out of the language, at least know some phrases, maybe some words. But the Spanish workers are the ones that pick it up faster. They pick it up fast because some of the words in Cocopah are similar to the Spanish language. And I think for that reason, they pick it up fast, but not so much for the Caucasian people. It's a little bit harder, and I don't know if it helps if they speak Spanish. I think it would, because you have to make certain sounds when you speak, and even now, Cocopah is kind of hard. If you have a speech impediment, then it becomes an issue, because you can say one word and mean something else entirely, and it happens. And so I really, really emphasize how you say the words and the sounds, and especially the fourth, fifth, sixth graders. They can read, and then when they see the X, the X has a certain sound in our language. It's almost like trying to clear your throat to say it. And there we have L's, with that are different from the English spelling. And so I always try to emphasize the how to say the words. Look at the words. Look at the spelling. They all have different sounds. And I think it helps. They're all pronouncing it right. The colors, the numbers. Now the games, which is harder because you have your reverse card. You've got your wild cards and your draw 4 and draw 2. And I don't know who suggested that we do Uno, but it's a very good game, and I'm glad that we are playing Uno with the kids. So normally we do bingo with animals, colors and animals, and that was a success. I have a lot of winners. And so this year it's Uno, and I think that it's been successful with this first group. Now I'm looking forward to the second group and see how we do with the older ones. Because we're going to have high schoolers and junior high group. And we have 1 week off, and then we'll be coming back. So the 2 weeks, I'm just anxious to see what we do with them. But that's what my goal is, to have everyone learn the culture and the language.